Now this is kind of cool. Alright, now let me flip my camera so y'all can see it. Here, now notice 2 Kings 2. That's 22. Kings. That's 2 master kings I gotta identify is what that's telling me. And the 5 is coming through the 5-point star, right? Meaning coming through the mother line, and it gotta be interpreted by the father line. The 6 is a man. The 5 is the woman. The 6-point star, the 5-point star. Now who in the hell is these 2 kings? Let's see. Then he went up from there to Bethel. And as he was going up by the way, young lads came out from the city and mocked him and said, "Go up, you bald head. Go up, you bald head." Now they said that twice. So that means there's 2 bald head people here. Now remember, we in the Red Lodge. We messing around at Death Row Records now. The Death Row Records. When he looked behind him and saw them, he cursed them in the name of the Lord. He cursed them in the name of the Lord. And then 2 female bears came out of the woods and tore up 42 lads of their number. Very sweet story. Now, I had to find through the matriarchal line who these 2 kings was. My clue was the bear. My clue was the bear. Now remember I told y'all that she got 2 bears to represent her clan. This is the 5. So the 2 bears that she got was the cubs. So the mirror effect say these 2 bears are adults. So that's why I say go up, you bald head, twice. It's 2 bald heads. It's 2 bald head bloods we talking about here. One brought in the other, meaning Suge brought in Pac. But Pac was already blessed through the Panthers, through the Lion Clan, through Bast, right? Black Panther the movie. Go back and look at it. Now watch this. Pac had a song called, the song was called Never Had a Friend Like Me. Never had a friend like me. This popped up while I was doing my research. Now it sent me to Proverbs 17:17. But did it really send me to Proverbs? What is a proverb? A proverb is a wise riddle. Now look, 1-7 and 1-7. You got the 2 1s, that's my mama, and the 2 7s, that's me. Got the 2 1 now, but now watch what they happen to them when you add them, because you see the colon in the middle. That's the break. So now, what was my mother's line, the mother line, the Red Lodge, and what was the father line, the perfected man, the Blue Lodge. When you add these 2 numbers, you got 88. That's called the Queen's seat. 80 is the Queen's chair. 88 is the seated Queen. So in order to seat the Queen, friends, a friend loves at all times. They are there to help when trouble comes. So now you look at all this red shit. It's telling me I'm in the Red Lodge. Now here we have 4 crosses. 4 crosses. Each cross is the center of the zodiac. Each cross is the center of the zodiac. But you see your Trinity here. That means that the God man has no cross. That means that he's above the zodiacs. Now, that means these two masters work together. How do I know this? You see these 2 crosses, 2 zodiacs. Each they said that the bear. Let me go back. Let me go back for a second. Right here. Count the number. It said the female bear came out of the woods. Rodney mean woods, y'all. The female bear came from Rodney and tore up 42 lads of their number. 42 is 4 12s. That's 4 years. That's 4 years. That's 4 years. Now watch where the 4 years come in at. It's 2 years for me and it's 2 years for her. We both got to ascend. That's 2 years apiece because it's split. They're split. The 2 years is split between the 2. How do I know this? It say right here. 42 lads. Then it said, go up, you bald head. That's one bald head. Go up, you bald head. That's two. So that's telling me that there's two people here that's being discussed with these bears. And the bears, even here, tie back to the red lodge. Now look, Care Bears is the woman. Now watch here, next one. Now you see the two bears they eating babies. Who does that? Kronos. Kronos eat the babies. Kronos is a male, right? But look at the Care Bears. The mother protects the babies. Kronos eat the babies. That's telling me, Kronos eat the babies is telling me that there's something to do with time, which takes me to the two people waiting the 2 years each, right? It's the two people waiting the 2 years each. Now let's go back. Go back to, okay, now here, each one of those crosses is representing a year, right? Each one of those crosses represent a year. That's 12 months, 24. 12 months, 24. You add them together, you got 48 months. I'm showing you how I read the signs. I can't get no more concise than this. This can't be, this is a physics problem. This is quantum physics. But I'm making it plain enough for a baby to understand it. All right, now, from there, let me see if I can find my vesicle, my two triangles. Oh, I showed you the triangles that I was sent. All right, now that that's cleared up, I have to go and I have to identify the symbol of the diamondback because we already identified the RH negative tells me that I got to identify a reptile, right? The RH negative on the shield told me I had to identify a reptile. So here's what I did. I'm going to look this up right quick. Don't tread. Image. Now, I'm looking this up in real time, and as I look it up, I'm going to let y'all see it. Here. See that? Don't tread on me. I didn't want to load for a minute there. Let's see if it'll load. I want y'all to see the symbol because the snake and the diamond has to tie me into the militia. Look, diamondback, rattlesnake. I told y'all the Southwest was the home range of the diamondback rattlesnake. Now, watch this. Watch this. Jet leaf. Jet is a plane. Li is Lee. That tied me back to Asia. That's the Lee line. My father's middle name is Lee, but it's spelled different. And fee is a price. Who paid the price? 3 times 5 is 15. 1 and 5 is 6. So this is the price that the man had to pay. As you go down, it say a U.S. veteran. You see the veteran? So that ties me into the veteran struggle, my Wounded Warrior Project. Owned Biz. Now that's Biz Markie. This is Biz Markie. So this is telling me hip-hop is involved. Right? Now, message and rattlesnake design. That's two things. That's a message. What's the message? Don't tread on me. Diamondback. Mouth is open. The snake is poised to strike. Rattle. Don't tread on me. Flags. I mean, it's a warning. They flagging the embroidered deco. What's deco? Deco. A live a live press conference, and in the course of the live, the lady didn't change clothes 2 and 3 times, and nobody don't notice it. But it's supposed to be live. It's said right on the TV. See, so it's stuff like that. If they ain't ready, if they don't notice that shit and they not questioning that kind of shit, then to try to explain anything of a heavier informational significance is a waste of time. They haven't even got the basics down. So I wouldn't explain it to them. I let them catch the shock and awe and find out the hard way.
Tough love, huh? So, okay, I think I got two more questions, then I'm gonna let you roll with it. The Luciferian conspiracy. What was that all about, in your words?
The Luciferian conspiracy was the one drop of blood that they needed to clean up the great debauchery, as Bobby Hemmett called it. And the Lucifer, meaning the enlightened, the one that can see, the aware, the illuminated one, the one who's not diet woke, but fully woke. The illuminated one becomes a Luciferian by definition of the word. And the Luciferian conspiracy is an agreement that two or more people who put together, they made an effort to accomplish the agreement, and to us the agreement would be considered criminal. So for all of us who've been feeling the pains of this doctrine of white supremacy, which is a military laid out strategy to dominate, conquer us, and make us forfeit our birthright, that's the conspiracy, right? The one who can see the conspiracy is the one they classify as Lucifer. Any one of them. It's not an exclusive term to one individual. So when they use it in the Bible, oh, Lucifer, son of the morning, they ain't even talking to Lucifer. They talking to his mama, because it say she was going to exalt her stars above the stars of heaven. What's the stars of heaven? The Orionos. So when you look at the sky, what's above Orion? Ursa. Ursa Major, Ursa Minor. We call it Big Dipper, Little Dipper.
Right.
Right? That's the only thing above. So whoever it is, Mama Bear and Baby Bear.
Mama Bear, Baby Bear.
Right? So who is the one they call the rebellious woman? Mary. What the fuck did she do? Right? She saw that it was fit for her to make one that could rival the rest of the guys without the need of the seed of the man, taking us back to the beginning, parthenogenesis, right, and immaculate conception. And she got to get permission from Earth for him to be an earthborn. She got to get a permission from Prime Creator to create the soul. Once you get them two creations, then all she got to do is use the power of will. We are so underestimating our own power of will. That's why we so freely give up our willpower to others to take control of.
So how do people learn to not, pretty much give up their willpower? Like, what would you suggest that they start doing?
Do what you know is right, and don't change your mind just because somebody disagreed with you. That's when you surrender in your will. When you know that you shouldn't be sending your child to public school, but everybody else doing it, so you doing it, you giving your willpower to somebody else to use. Right? When you know your vote don't mean shit, and you go down there and cast a goddamn survey, right? So hoping you win something on a coupon, and you know that shit don't count. It's not a secret the people don't elect the president, because they tell you they got to wait for the electoral vote, which is controlled by the electoral college.
That's right.
Before the electoral college is seated, they know what all of their vote is before they even give them a seat. They know if they vote Democrat or Republican before they ever have polls for the people to go do their survey.
And usually when they actually elect a person, is because that person is already in the loop with them to be able to carry out whatever vision that they foresee, or, wherever the ball is rolling at that moment.
Look, to even be a candidate, you're in the loop. But to determine the vote is determined by electors. Electors is the electoral college. The electoral college is the one seating the president. Who is these motherfuckers and where they come from? And why do they got to cast a vote separate from the popular vote when the popular vote should carry the state? Popular vote don't carry the state. The electoral vote carry the state.
That's like some old socialist type shit, because that means the small minority of people have more power than the great minority.
Right, but here's the thing. You're going to find this statement in the history books. And the statement says, we must maintain the appearance of an adversarial system in order to maintain the system. Remember, most people don't know that it used to be the Democratic Republic Party and there was one party.
Right.
Most people don't know about the Whig Party. They don't know about the Commonwealth Party. They don't know about the Confederate Party was a legitimate party. They don't know about that stuff.
So when the master teacher, this is going to another bill. When the master teacher was teaching us about the Yamasee Native American Washita Creek Nation, and he was trying to get us involved in identifying ourselves with that particular school of thought. How does that relate to now and what we should be doing?
So remember, Baba didn't just take us through one school of thought.
That's right.
We went through Islam, the 3 degrees, Islam, Judaism, Christianity. We went through the orders of Melchizedek. We went through our Egyptian orders. We went through our Nuwabian shrine orders. In order to put all of these orders together, he has to be a grand potentate, which means the one who creates the orders in order to raise the blind, deaf, and dumb. He got to be authentic with it. You know, so going through a school of thought without taking a side, looking at it objectively, gives you the ability to see what's really going on over here. So whatever school of thought he took us through, it was for us to see it so that when it come back up, we can recognize it. The way that they had us before, we was on one school of thought and one school of thought only. Go to school, go to church, get a good education, get a good job, and die. That was it. Now we're looking at different ideas, expanding the mind. When the mind started to expand, once some motherfucker hears some shit that he didn't know before and he know it now, he can't unlearn that shit.
Yeah.
So all of the schools of thought was to give you an inside look from the outside of what's going on in the degree. He looking at it literally from what we call the third eye perspective as like remote viewing the structure, the layout, the cause and effect potentialities within the order in order to teach you how to rise above it. That's what's the catalyst behind Nuwapu.
You said that's the catalyst. You said that's the catalyst behind Nuwabian?
Behind Nuwapu.
Mm.
The sound, right, reason, and science. You going through all them different schools, but you remain a Nuwapian from the Nuwabian Hebrew. I mean the Islamic Hebrew? the Nubian Islamic Hebrews, through the Holy Tabernacle Ministries, through the Egyptian Church of Christ, all the way down. You still was a Nuwabian from start to finish. You was learning Nuwapu the whole time through all of those, but you was living the culture that they trying to impose on you because you can feel that's not your culture. When you over here in Brooklyn, New York, and you trying to identify with a Saudi Arabian doctrine, right? Soon as you put on Jalabi sandals in December, you automatically know this doesn't go to this land. This is a disconnect.
Hell yeah, I grew up in Brooklyn. That shit is cold as hell. Like, bro, we need a snorkel out this bitch and some Timbs. Shit.
Now look, you take an Eskimo out of Alaska to Saudi Arabia, that motherfucker not putting on none of his shit. He ain't putting that big furry ass coat, them big furry ass boots, or them big furry ass pants. He'll just be standing butt booty ass naked in Saudi Arabia. And he'll know right then, I can't be from here. This is a disconnect because I can't wear my gear. That's how they know where they belong on the land. The ones who belong in the warm climate to the cold climate. Nature already got us weeded out. We just ain't paying attention to how it's moving. These is what all of the degrees in the schools of thought that Malachi sent us through. This is how you use that to your advantage. All of the critical thinking you see me doing was inspired by the Nation of Islam, the Nubians, and the Moorish Science Temple and the Christian Church. This is where my original teachings stem from.
Right.
Right. But I had an organic teaching that was separate from all of that. We call it today the voodoo. I was studying the voodoo my entire life without even knowing I was studying it, because you taught it by masters that can't tell you they teaching it to you.
Why is that?
Because you have to be able to have the right frequency in order to tie into your orisha, or some people say your lower, right? And then you have to make that connection yourself as part of self-discovery. Man, know thyself. It's part of your shadow work, because you can't find you looking outside in the world. You can only find you inside of you, because that's where you live at.
Right.
Right. So they can't tell you who you is. That's ego gratification. That's the ego development. But what they can do is they can give you a lesson that they're not telling you is a lesson that's part of the voodoo conjures for balancing out the laws of nature. I didn't understand half of that shit when I was a baby that I understand now when I look back on, and I know why it's stuck out in my memory when I'm dangling upside down here and my big mama say, "Look at here, Shelley, you look like you got the bearing." Right? I'm wondering why. I'm still remembering as a child why the fuck she got me upside down dangling me by my ankle. And I wasn't a year old.
Wow. So, from your perspective, what should we be doing now today? What is the things that you feel like we should be concentrating on now today?
Separating from this system so this motherfucker can fall. Don't nothing else matter. Because until this system fall, it's gonna make more and more suffering for the innocent when it do. And it's gonna make it longer to reboot the new system.
Right. It's like you're still stuck in the matrix.
Yeah. They still tied to the paper chain of contract law. Remember, it tell you in the Christian doctrine that he didn't come to free you from anything but the law. If you don't have no law, there is no sin. Paul talked about that shit with his half a fag ass.
So, separating from the system. So, what's your perspective on people who, I'm going to just say in the conscious community, I'm going to narrow it down, even though you may have a perspective on the greater whole, but more so brothers and sisters that's in the conscious community that still support our children, the younger gods and goddesses, going to be educated at the public school systems.
What's the question though? I don't get the question.
What is your perspective on them still sending them to the same institutions, the same educational institutions that perpetuate the system?
Those institutions are toxic environments, and they also where they be watching your child to figure out who's gonna get abducted next. If you're sending your child there, you ain't too sharp of what's going on. They're using that as a slave training system. It's all Pavlovian response Skinner box training now.
Oh shit! Not the classical and operant conditioning.
That's what it's all about.
I already know. I done had these conversations for years about Pavlovian conditioning, or what they may call classical conditioning, and then like you were saying about B.F. Skinner, he ended up refining it with the rat, and creating or pretty much designing the operant conditioning techniques.
Mm-hmm.
So what about for the parents who feel like, hey, I'm not in the circumstance to be able to homeschool, and they don't feel like there are enough schools.
This shit ain't that hard. Motherfuckers be trying to make it hard. It ain't that hard. All of the sisters that got jobs and that's working, this one sister that's not working that's sitting at home on her ass eating bonbons, watching soap operas, that could be helping teach the kids if y'all gave her a responsibility that she can handle. That's awesome made up shit. We got every excuse to fail, but we find very few excuses to succeed. The justification of failure is in such abundance that the desire to succeed is so undermined that we would rather fall on the foolishness of the justification than strap on our motherfucking big boy panties or big girl panties, big boy drawers, and handle that. This shit ain't even hard as you think it is, but it's hard because you haven't tried it yet. You got to be able to make this motherfucking reality be into your will. That's how you know if you're using your willpower or somebody using your willpower. If your willpower got you sending your child somewhere else to get educated, you are giving your power away by giving your child away. You undermining yourself without ever knowing you undermining yourself.
And you know, it's crazy that you say that, because I just had this conversation with a few sisters the other day, and that was one of the main, I'm gonna say, excuses. How are you gonna send your child to school? When do you have time to? I mean, how are you gonna not send the children to school? When do you have time to pretty much educate them if you got to go out and work?
Education is an ongoing process. Whether you work or not as the parent, it's your responsibility to educate them better than the system. The system is only training them to be a subject to the system. If you want them to rise up so they don't have to go through the shit you doing, you make a way. They looking for excuses, man. All they looking for is
they make a way for everything else. That's what I told them. Y'all make a way for everything else.
They got time to sit in the motherfucking weave shop for 8 hours getting that motherfucking weave weaved in there. Why you can't figure out how to get 8 hours a week of actual teaching time to the child when you sit in the 8 hour micro braid session, zillion session. I just seen girls had to go home, go to sleep, get up in the morning, come back for another 8 hours to get them motherfucking zillions.
That's crazy. I watched my sisters and them go sit 2, 3, 4 hours just to get their nails and their feet done.
Okay, so if you can get your nails and your feet done, you can find time for your child. Look, all of the women that I personally know, even when they child not at school, they trying to teach them something, or they trying to put them around somebody to teach them something. I don't know none.
Okay, so go ahead, finish that thought, and I'm gonna read you what I don't know what CPS is, but the brother Matthew.
Child Protective Services.
Huh?
That's Child Protective Services.
Okay, Child Protective Services. Now, I grew up in homeschool, and I just had this conversation with a few of the women. It is not illegal to homeschool your children. You can sign your children out. I have done it. And you fill out the paperwork, and they give you two options. Either you can sign them up for a homeschool program, whereas the program keeps up with the school system itself, or you can decide what books you want to teach the child and prepare the child for whatever test that the school has organized or created for them, and get them up to speed with the test. But we're not saying take them out of school and don't participate. No, I'm not saying. Let me just finish. I'm not saying take them out of school and then go to jail because you're not doing the educational program. Period. Now that does happen, because when one of my ex-mates, when I took her son out of school, she didn't finish filling out the paperwork, so it was like he was still enrolled in school and he was missing days. But once when the paperwork got, because he was autistic, once when the paperwork got completed, I put together pretty much the same school system that we had in the tab, and I was able to educate him in Wabic and bring him up to speed. When he finally went back to school, he graduated in a regular class and went to college.
Mm-hmm. That's the reason they don't want you to homeschool. Look, the curriculum our 12th graders get here is like 5th or 6th grade in Japan. It's like 7th or 8th grade in Germany. Look, for those who want to do further investigation on the educational system, there's a lady named Charlotte Isserby on YouTube who was the director under the No Child Left Behind program of the Department of Education. And Study the educational system they're telling you to send your child to. You have an inalienable right to educate your child and not participate in the system. They can't interfere with that right unless you agree to allow them to interfere. That's if
Right.
you're a sovereign. That's if you know who you are. If you don't know who you are, you better follow their rules to the letter till you figure this shit out.
So all right. So this person Ross 777, and shout out to V Money, Walakum Mashu, to the brother. But it says, can we do a declaration to claim our organic rights to not deal with contracts? I took mine out.
Listen to the sentence. Read the sentence again.
He says, can we do a declaration to claim
A declaration
our organic rights to not deal with contracts? I took mine out.
Okay, now a declaration, you don't need, a sovereign doesn't need permission to make a declaration. That's the first thing you understand about no big eyes and no little U's. The government ain't bigger than you and you ain't bigger than the government, right? The government here is to serve the needs of the people. There's nowhere in the needs of the people do you have to make a declaration as to who you is. That's all in the corporate structure of bookkeeping. If you don't know what lane you fall in, you can easily get trapped up. So in the oral tradition, because we got to use our traditions, our ways to overthrow their system. So an oral declaration in the public domain, any social media platform, is called an archivable format that has been already ruled on as a viable means for public notice. So if you put public notice and you tell the motherfuckers you rescind all contracts and exercising your sovereign rights and identify who you are as a sovereign and not your straw man. That's why I tell everybody when you go through stages of awakening, your name doesn't change. Because who you are is changing too. Every 7 years, you got a whole different cellular makeup. And that's a whole lifetime for the past you. At 7 years old, the you that was born is no longer here. But the new that's about to go into the next 7 years has arrived.
Right. So this says, Mondays for short say, my declaration is what I say. Okay, so can you explain to the brothers and sisters the meaning of a sovereign and how that applies? Because I think that, from my experience of speaking with people about it, it's misconstrued.
It is. So remember, the Dred Scott case said we had no rights that a so-called white person is bound to respect. A white person in law is a free white person in law, meaning they are some kind of royal or noble class, right? If you are an organic being, then you are not under anybody's jurisdiction that's not in agreement with your claim. The problem is the clans don't know who they are, so we can't come together like transformers fast enough. It's moving, but it's moving slow as hell.
So in the redemption manuals, how to become a secure party creditor, how does that relate in your perspective?
Okay, so in the redemption process as a secured party creditor, you are participating in asking permission from a legal fiction, which is a corporation masquerading as a government, to allow you to be an active agent on their behalf. That's what that is. You making a contract on a higher level. That's all.
Is
This
that the
time
same
going
thing?
into it knowingly and willfully, because the inferior can never validate a superior's position.
Okay.
So you be made an imbecile in law, a Dred Scott slave, 3/5 compromise, when you don't know that you the one supposed to be telling the system how to work. You supposed to get with a general consensus of like-minded individuals and make a public notice to the grievance and offer the solution. If the solution not available, you make it known that this is a fact-finding mission. Anybody got a solution to this grievance, feel free to solve the problem. You put it in the public domain, it becomes a standing declaration. So now the more of y'all do it or understand what's being done and make allegiance to be on one page with restoring the air, the land, and the water, then you can break free from the legal fiction. You got to exercise your superior right as an organic being to clean earth up. That's all. Once you understand that part, you don't need to understand nothing else, because the rest of it going to automatic. It's going to go into automatic pilot mode in your psyche. You're going to then begin to remember why you came here and who you are and how you're going to fix the problem from your part.
Right. And that makes all the damn sense in the world. So with that being said, another question is, because a lot of people that I was in contact with a few years ago was, on the sovereignty paperwork hard, and they was relating it more to property ownership, like land. How does that relate? How does the owning property relate to being sovereign?
The only people that own property in truth, see, you don't own property, you lease property.
You're damn right, because you got to still keep paying.
Right, because the property taxes is to ensure that you continue to keep the lease up. So you got to find out who holder in due course is. That's what you need to be in order to be a landowner. If you're not holder in due course, nobody has that deed, because nobody can actually sell the land. They've been running the whole mortgage fraud for years, defrauding the people on how mortgages is done. They using your mortgage to take out massive loans in your name. And they already paid for the house. You did, with your signature. But we don't know this shit. We don't know about all of the bills they passed to systematically allow their legal fiction to assume a superior jurisdiction.
And how can you explain that?
Tell people to recognize that they God. It's one thing we got to understand. One thing that's real important. Me personally, I'm gonna personalize this for myself, so nobody don't feel like I'm picking on them. If somebody tell me, recognize I'm God, then they recognize the God in me. They should know, if they know anything about me or anything about the legend that leads you to who I am, they would know one thing. I might not do nothing you want me to do. I might not do nothing you tell me to do. But I guarantee you, I'm going to do everything I'm supposed to do, when I'm supposed to do it, how it is told to me to do it, until I get it right. But just because it don't look like, sound like, smell like, or taste like how you want me to move, that don't mean I ain't moving the way I'm told to move by the Spirit. And that's where we all get caught up trying to keep up with the Joneses. You can't keep up with the Joneses in the spiritual pursuit, because the Joneses is looking after the dollar. Joneses is trying to go to work every day, which ain't nothing wrong with that, because that's part of the struggle. I've been working my whole life since I can remember. I remember shoveling snow when I was 4, 5 years old. So I know that, work is part of being who we are. But it comes a point like now. I'm done with this system. I'm done with the way they run this system. I'm done with the falsehood, the lies, the bullshit, the deceit, the treachery, the fake love, the fake hugs. I'm tired of all of that. So I don't want no more parts of it. I'm done participating in foolishness and ignorance. I'm done. So if you think that I'm just going to accept it because you said it, you're probably about 98% wrong. I'm not going to just accept it because you said it. And if you think I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, then you come show me what you think I'm supposed to be doing. And that's how I say that for anybody listening. If somebody tell you you're not doing your part to a sin, you tell them to show you what the hell they think you ought to be doing if they think you're not doing it right. Because there is no blueprint for majority of us. The blueprints are all in the Catholic Church, and we have them. They written. Step-by-step instructions to a sin at any given day of the week. We have that. But Francis don't want to release it as that parasite in them been holding the documents hostage. But we don't need them. Because we didn't always have things written on paper. We got stuff written in our DNA. If we follow the DNA, if we follow the obstacle, what make us emotionally struggle, then we'll find the path. Because fear, pain, and misery are the tools of control. If you study, did the volume go down again? Facebook be doing that, so I just be sitting here in the same spot and the volume will go up and down on its own. Anyway, so if you study and you do your part, then the only person can tell you whether you're doing it correctly or incorrectly Can you hear me now, Don? Anybody can chime in if y'all can hear me. I don't know what's going on with this Facebook situation. They've been trying to stop me for a long time from delivering information. So it don't really matter. I'm still gonna put it out. Oh, okay. Okay, so here we go. The blueprint is on your DNA. So you're gonna have these urges, feelings. You're gonna be angry at stuff that don't make sense to you. That's because you're supposed to think through it. You're gonna feel heartbroken about a relationship and the person you ain't seen in years. That's because you're supposed to think through it. Why am I feeling this way? What does this mean? How do I handle this experience? Yep. When you put all these things together in your mind while you're going through these erratic emotions, you start making the emotion make sense. When the emotion begin to make sense, this is where you at mentally. Raising it from here, you at the eye level. When the emotions start to make sense, emotions don't make sense. Emotions generally don't make sense. They're irrational. But when they start making sense, you've raised your mental and your emotional to a similar level. You know what I'm saying? You raise them to a similar level. Now the emotions and the mind working together. This is the ascension. When that harmony, that divine masculine, divine feminine within start playing off each other. Because the brain, right side of the brain is feminine, left side masculine. Right brain creative, left brain is organizing. So it's linear logic. Right brain is abstract, artistic. Left brain is linear mathematic. So when you can bring the two together, then the artistic abilities start to make sense to the mathematics, and the mathematics start to be beautiful to the artistic. So you start making the two come together. And then this is when the king and queen chamber start to communicate regularly. That's what they call the sacred union in your brain. Well, in the 3D world, ceremonial magic works the best and is strongest for this reason. It gives us a point of reference, and that's the hardest thing to get when you're doing a silent meditation, is a point of reference, because you're in a free fall through upper ranks of dimensions. You're in a free fall up. And normally you fall down. That's how we got here when they blew that collider the last time and they made us come into this 3D realm and get stuck. But when we start to fall up and we're trying to orient to the chaos around us, because you're going through straight chaos as we going up. When we get to the top, now we can look over it and we can put the chaos in its correct order. And this is what they call ascending to your God self, when you start to put the chaos in your mind in the correct order. All of these processes take place inside the self. You gotta conquer the irrational thought, right? The irrational thought comes from the emotions being expressed in mental imagery. Like, you got different learning styles. You have some people that learn through the feeling, they can feel it. Some people learn through the sound, they can hear it. Some people learn through the sight, and they can see it. And some people learn through the taste and smell, olfactory, and they can smell it, they can taste it. All these different sensations. Then you got some people that learn through all of them together. Omniscient, they can learn through any of it. When this takes place, you have to unite the mind stuff with the heart stuff. The creative and artistic with the intellectual and the mental. And when you do this, this is what causes all of those chakras to start spinning at a rapid rate. As they spin, it shoots the energy up to the next chakra. Most of us are blocked at the heart chakra by black goo. Now, I'm not going to deal with black goo because I dealt with it before. Y'all can look it up. The energy workers around the world is already telling y'all this black goo is a bad dude. It's hard to get out of the heart chakra. And it's a combination of science and what we call magic or sorcery. It's not just one. It's a combination of science and sorcery. They put them together to make them the most powerful force we could face. And it's been holding us back a long time. Yes. I like how you thinking, Curtis Henderson, because I'm gonna inbox you later, because we're gonna do some work together, because you bring up stuff that'll help a lot of people. Okay, so now when we looking in to the 3D world, we get stuck on the car, the house, the dog, and the mailman. Bullshit. Bullshit. That shit is passé. But they tell you not to be selfish. Now check this out. If you're trying to attain God status, they say you don't be selfish. But then as soon as you get God status, they say you God. All of it is about you. That's selfish. So that's a contradiction again. So you got to look for the contradictions, and then you got to find out, why are they there? Why is the contradiction there? Because the contradiction is there to get your attention. It ain't there haphazardly. It's there to get your attention. Why is it telling you God stuff this way, guys think like this, and you can't think like a mortal because a mortal think like this, and it's the same shit. You know, it's the same shit. Yeah, they've been putting in a lot of movies about the black goo. As a matter of fact, the most popular one is Venom from Spider-Man. Venom is a personified black goo creature. And they kind of work something like that, but they only talk through the heart chakra. Meaning that when you, like for instance, my curse was unrequited love. So I'm probably going to be single till I die. I'm good with that.